Greetings, everybody. We at How Bizarre headquarters decided to take the week off so we can shove our fat fucking faces with fat fucking foods, all in celebration of tyranny and commercialism, I suppose. But we decided to put up one of our very favorite episodes from the old show, Tales from the Space Pod. Now, this was our Thanksgiving show from 2015. Thanksgiving tomfoodery, I believe, is what we called the episode. We talk about some food-related things, including famous poisonings, choking incidences, is that incidents? Remarkable tales of unspeakable gluttony, and even a brief history of how Thanksgiving became an actual holiday. It's more fun than it sounds, and things get cooking right away with a big announcement from Christopher. I forgot about this. This was a key turning point, a key moment in the history of us as podcasters, but also us as friends. You know, these things are audio diaries, podcasts, so when you go back and you listen to some of the older episodes, you're like, wow, I forgot about that moment. So there's a key one right up front there, which you're about to discover. Now, this was 4 years ago, so you're going to hear a few references that probably won't make sense, and maybe a few words here and there I've tried to phase out of my dialect, but it couldn't be surprising if I haven't successfully phased them out, right? Anyway, one of our very favorite episodes, Thanksgiving Tomfoodery from 2015. We'll be back next week, probably talking about 9/11. Have a happy Thanksgiving, you turkeys.
Tales from the Space Pod is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, I suggest you turn this wacky shit right off. Otherwise, welcome to the pod.
Well, I hate to start the show off on a serious note, but I guess it's best to get this part out of the way early. A couple days ago, Chris sent us all a text that kind of shocked our foundation. I mean, I guess I should say I'll speak for myself.
It shocked me too.
And it took me a while to respond because I kind of didn't really want to, believe it. But then John Mark weighed in, and then Lyle, you weighed in, and then all of a sudden the gravity of the situation was made all too real to the Ronsters. So I'm just going to read the text from Chris himself, and I guess it's best you all hear this from him the way that we all heard it. So this is the text. It says, "Fuck, guys, I have to tell you something, and it's going to be hard." Then a few minutes went by, and then we get this next message. "I just really paid attention, and it turns out I wipe back to front, ...
Oh,
I am Adam Eagle."
It's true, you guys. I had a fucking revelation.
I'm going to let that set in.
It wasn't good. But at the same time, I've done some, deeper digging, if you will. Some more, some more research.
All the names.
And I really feel like you need to give this a shot because I think you guys are putting your nose down at this before you really understand the gravity.
Well, gravity has a lot to do with it, actually. So does just good old inertia. And I did try it. I tried because I had to double check myself. Now, I think this is how you discovered that you were a back to fronter.
Let's call him an Adam Eagle. I'm an Adam Eagle.
Well, listen, 9 times out of 10, you tell me you're an Adam Eagle, my response is, hell yes, bro. Hell yes. Mm-hmm. Not this time.
This is the 10th.
This is not the way to be Adam Eagle.
Yeah, Adam Eagle, I got to talk like, no, you guys are doing it all wrong.
So I guess you want to explain yourself, Chris? I mean, listen, I appreciate the honesty.
I've not fucking heard that in that tone since my dad found me looking at his Playboys when I was like 9.
Reverse wiped butthole just pucker. Listen, I appreciate the honesty, and I appreciate you fact-checking your own poop method.
Yeah.
But WTF, man.
Okay, well, here's the deal. First off, I'm not cramming any kind of poop residue into my balls. Right?
Prove it. Prove it in a court of fucking law under a microscope.
Surgeon. I am a fucking surgeon of shitting. Okay.
You're saying.
I appreciate that you're being precise. Go on.
It's a divot, a wipe, and a downward thrust to the water. It's just there's nothing touches even my taint.
Well, I tain't buying it because
I agree with Chris.
yeah.
Yes.
Now listen, this is too. Back off your mic just a little bit, Chris. It's a little loud.
Well, I'll back it off, back to front.
No, John Mark, this too is a switcheroo from last week because unless I'm remembering.
I didn't say anything last week.
Ron, back off your whiskey, buddy. Okay?
You didn't say either way.
No, I didn't specify. I can neither confirm nor deny.
So you hadn't done the homework. You couldn't. How does one say?
Oh no, I full well knew. I just didn't say anything.
You son of a bitch! You fucking coward!
I was letting Chris take the fall.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's. It's not as bad as if you were a female. I mean, when you have another hole to worry about, you got to be extra careful. But as I mentioned in the last episode, poopy balls is a chump's game, son. You got a much higher.
I can definitely tell you that my balls don't have poop on them. So
I believe that. No proof necessary.
Ron's like, I've seen them. I know.
The clean as a whistle. But you got to admit, you have to admit the risk is higher going back to front. I don't care how meticulously you wipe. It's the direction. It's the direction of failure, my friend.
I have to tell you that there was a certain point in time where I was like, wow, have I been doing this wrong this whole time? I better try from front to back, and I just can't fucking do it, man. Like
he doesn't know about the three seashells.
It's like trying to write. It's like trying to write your name with the opposite hand. It just doesn't fucking work out.
Well, that's how I feel going back to front. But so I guess I buy that. But to me, the motion, the angle, it seems like you two should be struggling with carpal tunnel. Another tunnel happening down there. It feels completely.
I just
wrong.
can't grasp the idea of standing to wipe for some reason.
Yeah, this episode has gotten so many people fucking talking. I wish I could hear people when they're listening in their cars and they're like talking to their friends or their spouses.
It's not a full-up stand. It's just, you squat off the seat.
All right, well, I'm gonna try to reenact. Direct me. Okay, so I'm done. I've taken my shit.
You finished.
You just kind of like a half squat.
Yeah, you reach for some toilet paper.
Okay.
You remember you were folded.
Oh yeah, okay.
And you get it done. And then
yeah.
Now wait a minute, Lyle. Are you saying that you are more of a leaner than a stander?
I'm not going to stand up with my legs locked fucking straight up.
Never leg locked.
Ayo.
Never. That's rule number one. But listen,
You know what? When I was
okay,
younger,
now I got to act like we're all sitting in our chairs pretending to wipe our ass. I'm going to go through it, though.
That's about the truth of it all. When I was a kid, I used to sit down on the toilet, like lean a cheek and try to wipe. And then the older I got, the harder it was for me to do it. So I just stood up.
I just went through the motion, and there's no question. I stand up.
Yeah.
Like you lock your knees?
I don't know. I'll tell you next time, honestly, if I lock my knees. I might get close to locking.
You should probably periscope it.
We should periscope. Oh my God, downscope.
I guess it's kind of classified more as a low squat.
No. Boy, I don't know. I feel like we can get past this, but there's a lot of hurt right now, guys. A lot of hurt, a lot of confusion. My world has been rocked, and I'll never wipe again without shedding a tear for my backwards homies. It's a different world now.
Well, the thing about being able to stand up is that you could reach over to the sink and put a little bit of water on that toilet paper.
Yeah, well, that's what a hobo would do if you can't, get to the store and get yourself some wet wipes.
Some wet wipes. It's better than, like, digging it into the toilet water and trying to do it.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
I guess.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final episode of the Space Pod.
Yeah, it's done. It's been fun.
It was fun. It's done. It really was fun. Let's get moving on to some news. I came across this story recently about lots of silly ways that we tried to fuck with the Nazis during World War II. Things like insinuating that Hitler had a small penis in like periodicals and cartoons. It's 9 inches if it's 3. Sending fake invitations. This one cracked me up. Sending fake invitations to parties so that they'd get there and just be embarrassed when they couldn't get in. These are all real things that our government came up with, and a lot of them they actually employed, just to demoralize them in any way they could. And this was at the height of the war. So one such little gem was to airdrop tons of pornography onto Hitler's bunker. Now,
I think I heard this one.
their logic isn't quite as crazy as it may seem at first, but while the Allies would have loved nothing more than to take out Hitler during the war, they were struggling with the idea. First of all, just getting a clear shot was difficult, but also they had this real fear of making him into a martyr. This is always something they got to talk about when we're thinking about, do we take out Hitler? Do we take out Saddam? Do we take out Gaddafi? All these people that at one point could have started a revolution by killing them, but this was at the height of the war again. So the idea behind the porn was that some American psychologist theorized that part of what made Hitler Hitler was that he was incredibly prude when it came to all things sex. So he thought, well, let's surround him with images of sex, and maybe he'll just lose his shit and run out of the bunker, or even better, he'll kill himself by being driven crazy with something that he can't process. This was really what was being discussed, folks.
I think he had really bad mama issues too, right?
It's hard to say Hitler and issues together without laughing. I mean, it's like, I guess it goes so fucking deep on so many levels. But yeah, he probably had just about all of them. He must have, right? But anyway, so they began to scheme about how to best do this. And like I said, they settled on the idea of an airdrop over his bunker. But an Air Force colonel thought this plan was fucking retarded. So he straight up fought against it, saying, this is incredibly dangerous. This type of air mission, we got to get super close, super low.
Our porn rations are super low at the moment.
WW2. What are we going to whack with? This is top of the line German stuff. That silly Bavarian shit with animals and barnyards and stuff. He threw a fit though, and he just refused to go along with it, which could have gotten him in a lot of trouble. But ultimately they abandoned the idea, and they just distributed the porn to the Allied soldiers in the field. But I thought that was an interesting story. Just when you think you've heard every wacky WW2 story, Porn Drop, Operation Porn Drop, was almost in full effect. Actually, speaking of world wars, tonight's Monster of the Week comes straight out of the sea battles of WW1. This, not to be confused with WW2. We would never want to do that on this podcast.
We're experts.
This is the tale. Travel and or together we are travel and or educated. How about that? Put that on a fucking t-shirt. This is the tale of the U-28 sea crocodile. Chris, you're going to love this one. The British steamer Iberian, I believe is how you pronounce that, was cruising off the coast of Ireland when it was attacked by the German submarine U-28. The Iberian tried to flee, but the submarine pursued, firing shells and torpedoes, and it took a couple of direct hits. So the Iberian just sort of tipped up, did its thing, sank. You've all seen the Titanic. When these things either break in half or even if they sink whole, it doesn't go down flat. One end pops up. The sinking would have been all but forgotten if not for an article the U-28's captain, Baron von Forstner, wrote for a German newspaper in 1933, well after the war. In the Baron's account, he stood on the submarine's tower and watched the steamer sink. Now, about 25 seconds after it disappeared beneath the surface, there was a large explosion. They assumed that this was caused by the ship's boiler detonating.
Yeah,
but this, what's that?
Cold water in the boiler, yeah.
But this blast threw a mysterious sea creature clear out of the water.
No.
What?
No. He described the animal as being 65 feet in estimate long.
No.
And crocodile in shape, with pairs of strong front and hind legs adapted for swimming, and a long head that tapered towards the nose. Giant fucking sea crocodile. Now, according to Barham, the creature was visible for about 10 to 15 seconds at a distance of about 500 to 300 feet in bright sunshine.
Kind of like Wild Coyote.
Mm-hmm. You can just picture them following it with their eyes. A leading cryptozoologist, Bernard I should know this name, Heuvelmans, he came up with the term cryptozoology, for God's sake. He speculated that the creature might have been a surviving species, Thalatousia a genus of giant sea crocodile from the time of the dinosaurs. In spite of 7 other crew members saying they saw it too, the creature, when it shot across the bow, their story wasn't given much credence in the mainstream, but it's thought to be one of the most credible sightings. I mean, yes, these were the Nazis, but they have just as little reason to make this shit up, or just as much reason. A lot of people said they all made it up because they're bored. Giant sea crocodiles. I would watch the shit out of that on the Sci-Fi Channel, but what a fucking sight. I mean, first of all, you're just sitting there.
Sea crocodiles versus Nazis. Bring it.
Oh,
bring
shit. On the moon.
Nazi crocodile versus Sharknado.
Sharknado,
Yeah. Nazi dial. But this time, they've gone too far. Who's that doctor? Dr. Mengele. He would have taken like the strongest Nazi razzler and sewn his torso to the body of a crocodile. Nazi dial. I'd watch them shits. First of all, you're just sitting there watching the ship you just torpedoed carrying its entire crew to a salty grave out in the middle of the sea. That's already an intriguing sight. Then you see a Galdern dinosaur fly across the horizin. I say it all the time, man. War is wacky.
If I had a nickel for every time.
Wacky.
Crocodiles are like the first, the closest thing species that is around today that's been around since the dinosaurs. So
Yeah, that's
it's
what
not that
they say.
far-fetched, really.
And sea crocodiles were once a thing. Somebody, I think it was Moses, who's going to be joining us later for a news quiz, one of our listeners. I think he posted a graphic earlier today on Facebook showing how insanely deep the ocean is, and they start with, the top layer, and then you go down to where there's still sunlight shining, and you're well past the Empire State Building in terms of depth. And then it just keeps going and going and going and going, and you see how little we have actually seen of that black, deep, dark ocean where they don't even know if life exists.
They got like little fish with fucking headlights and shit on them.
Yeah, that stuff is down there, but we haven't gone much further than that, and there are spaces much further than that. So the thought that something prehistoric could still be down there,
fuck,
even to this day, just lurking. There could be. I mean, seriously, we talk about it all the time on the show. It is true that we know more about space, not outer space, but we know more about space than we do in our own fucking ocean. That's a cliche for a reason, because it's true. And the thought of giant fucking crocodiles down there, that's interesting. Or any dinosaur, even these deep lakes like we got here in Lake Chelan. There's a lake legend not too far from here called Ogopogo, one of the most famous. But Lake Chelan has one of its own. Speaking of Lake Chelan, Chef Gordon Ramsay is in town, and he's been posting tweets and stuff from the docks of Lake Chelan. They're doing an episode of Kitchen Nightmares or
in Chelan?
Hotel Hell or something like that.
Hotel.
Yeah.
What the hotel is? You know what hotel it is?
The Riverview Hotel? Or Lakeview.
Grandview?
Lakeview.
Okay.
Did I stutter? No, I may have got the wrong word, but I didn't stutter. Pretty sure it's Lakeview, but don't quote
Apparently,
me.
I had a friend that was up there over the weekend and watched it. Like, he was participating as a patron.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's been interesting to see. I saw a casting call for a Fox reality show on Craigslist when I was just scanning the ads, but it didn't say what show. But you can go up and just apply to be on it. How much of it is unscripted? I'm always interested in a lot of these shows. I know a ton of these type of shows, these competition shows, are 90% bullshit. What you guys got before we get on to my main course?
I just sent you guys a clip to a YouTube link here. A link to a YouTube clip. I'll get that proper.
Thank God I'm
I
not
found
the
this.
only one.
Yeah, I found this equally parts disturbing and fucking fascinating. This is one of those parasitic worms that has zombie-like. What is the word I'm looking for?
Powers.
It can control its host.
It can control
its host
Yeah.
a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So get to
So
about
we're looking
40
at a
mantis.
praying mantis down on the ground, and someone's spraying it with something or other.
It's dying. They're killing it,
Yeah.
technically. 40 seconds in is where it gets interesting.
Okay, we're right at 40 seconds. And I feel like something's going to jump out and go, ah!
That's worse.
Okay,
And this
so
doesn't
the mantis
freak you out. This doesn't freak you out.
The mantis
It actually, like I said,
hits
equally parts.
Ooh. Oh my God, this is right out of a fucking science fiction show. Okay, so the mantis is, for all intents in purpose, dead, belly up, and there is a stem, black as sin. Oh, no, it's forked off like a fucking snake tongue, sliding out his belly. It's already the same size as the mantis.
Yeah.
Slithering out of its ass, it looks like. Holy shit, it just keeps coming out, and it's it's twice as long as the mantis, slithering around on the pavement, and it's got it's like sharp pointy ends, although I haven't seen the other end. I don't know if I want to see the fucking other end.
Oh, crap.
Okay, he's still coming out. Holy shit.
An alien?
Yeah.
What is this parasite?
It's I'll post a link to the article, but it's a parasitic worm.
Oh, there's his head. Now it is just a giant fucking worm. It's evil looking now. It's black and pointy.
And it's nimble. Doesn't it seem like it? Look at the way it rides.
Oh, I would love to see like an X-ray of how this fucking thing was piloting that.
Yes.
Like how it was even all folded up in there.
Oh, man.
That is fucking fascinating.
Right?
That's some fascinating nature. It's creepy and gross, yes, but it's fucking fascinating. That thing...
it looks alien. It looks alien.
Anybody who has seen The Hidden...
Yes.
This is the real-world version of the fucking Hidden.
Mm-hmm. It's like Venom.
I can't stop looking at it. It's making me sick, but that is fascinating.
Like I said, equal part fascinating and disturbing.
Yeah. Well, tune in next week. I'm going to go kill myself. Speaking of worms and killing myself.
As a worm crawls out of your carcass.
Well, my dog's got worms. And, Leah discovered a while ago, and I did an over-the-counter treatment, but it didn't take. And my vet said, that's typical. Well, sometimes they just don't take, or you got to do so many treatments. So just come in and get some of the good stuff. But I saw one the other day. That's how I knew it wasn't gone. It was like a 3-inch. It didn't come out in the shit. It came out with the shit. It was like just traveling along with the turd.
Now, it's not an actual worm. It's the shedding of the worm, right? I don't know how it is in dogs, but in cats, it's like these tiny little. They look like rice nuggets.
This is there's different kinds. This one looked like a 4-inch long spaghetti noodle, and it slid out and immediately curled in the cold and tried to slither away, but quickly died. And I looked it up, and I can't remember which. There's roundworms, tapeworms, there's all sorts of different worms. It wasn't a tapeworm. It was one of the other ones. But even the vet said it's kind of odd to see them that fully grown popping out. So I got to get that old girl taken care of. But it was troubling. My dad had a dog who had a tapeworm, and those get long. Those can be as long as your intestines. Yeah. So... which I think on one of our episodes somebody said it was like miles long or something. I can't remember. But I think this one was like, I want to say it was like 15 feet or something, where, you take the medicine to kill it and then the dog shits it out. But sometimes they need a little help because it's fucking long.
No.
By the time it starts poking its head out, you have to gently tug it along.
No.
It's the same type of thing. It's a parasite. It lives in you.
Ew.
Yeah. But it is true that some people take tapeworms
to get skin to be modeled.
Well, to be skinny. It eats some of your food. It makes you not as hungry. And I don't know what the downsides to having a tapeworm.
Symbiotic relation, no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Keep me thin. Keep you fed.
Where can I get these?
Mm-hmm. John Mark, what you got? Are you driving, by the way?
I am. I'm almost to my destination, but I sent you guys a video on Facebook. I can't send it to you now, obviously, because I'm driving. But if you go to the Facebook thing, there's a link there. Okay. And if you just kind of forward about halfway through it to the point where you see a box. So the beginning, it's like some wires and a few components, and it looks like a rubber tentacle. Okay. About halfway through, you see those all assembled into a box, and that's where you want to start watching.
All right. This looks like some sort of homemade sex toy from the first glance, but let's skip ahead. Okay.
And it seems to work very well with the...
Oh, boy, this is a troublingly wormy episode thus far. So what we got here is a little motor of some sort, like some sort of Radio Shack do-it-yourself project, hooked to a rubber tentacle that's now twitching about.
I'd call this a breakthrough, actually. I have...
Okay, now it's...
the Arduino.
Now the tentacle is placed in a wooden box, and a knife is attached to the end of it.
This delightful box and fit it in.
I can see where this is going.
I was going to say this would be helpful for butt wiping.
Tentacle with a
Oh
Swiss
boy.
Army knife.
Well, I immediately thought sexual, of course, but
Knife.
not anymore. Do not
I've
want.
actually speeded up the interval on the Blink
It's going to be a
program
fucking death
to
machine.
500 milliseconds.
That's pretty
So I see
awesome.
what happens now
Milliseconds. You're going to shit your pants out.
Just fast-forwarded. Holy fuck.
Holy
Just
shit.
put that on the top of a cookie jar, dude.
Who is this madman? Yeah, that'll keep you thin. Wow, that is a fucking cartoon right before your eyes.
Oh.
It's just twitching all about, holding a knife. What the fuck? Who is this?
I don't
And
know.
why
It's
has he
just
done
some guy.
this?
I don't know. But
Wow.
it's pretty awesome. And you can't turn it off unless it's remote controlled or something, which I'm assuming it was. But it's like, there's nothing.
Well, the only thing it says in the video is the knife-wielding tentacle build. Now, the word "build" tells me a lot about it, actually, because there's these guys. The dude from, let's see, what's his name? Adam from Mythbusters is a builder, and they have this whole following that's sort of an addendum to Mythbusters. It's all on YouTube. It's called Tested, and they talk about little gizmos and like movie props and all sorts of awesome, cool little projects that you can make. And I mean, like insane craftsmanship and detail on some of these. So, but there's this whole genre or subgroup out there of people doing goofy little things like this. So it's just a funny little project that he did. But that is an interesting sight, a knife-wielding tentacle. This is what we're doing with our technology, folks. Picture that thing 10 times that size on a tank with tracks.
There you go.
Do 100 of those and send them into battle. How are you going to fucking do? Make them bulletproof? Those things will chop and slice their way through.
Oh my god, I want to see that animated so bad.
Release the tentacles.
Reminds me of that fucking Edgy Tomorrow movie.
Yeah.
The aliens. Before we get on to your soup du jour, did you guys see the poster for Game of Thrones Season 6, the teaser?
No, I've yet to see anything on it.
Oh, bloody nose.
It's you should fuck it. It's Jon Snow. It's his face all bloody though.
Oh.
That's it.
Which I thought was fucking really interesting that HBO would put that out.
So is the idea? Boy, I guess we should say spoilers.
I mean, truly at this point, that was
True.
the biggest spoiler.
True, but is the idea that Jon Snow's fate is not yet sealed? I mean, it has to be.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that I like that they're kind of owning up to it with how much speculation there's been, and there's pictures of him up filming and shit. You know what I mean? Like, people went crazy over this one.
I'm excited. When does it start? Usually January, right?
February, I think.
February. I love me that show. Good stuff. Anything else before we get moving on, Lyle?
Well, I had one, and it's not worm-related at all. Or
Thank Christ.
asswipe. But,
The rest of the show is all food-related, although not all good.
well, I could teach you and educate you guys on how to fry a chicken. How's that?
Oh, yeah.
I
I'd
don't
like to
have
hear
any
that.
recipes, but I'll teach
Terrified to
you
fry
these.
anything big.
Right. Well, the story actually it's pretty old. They found this in 2007, but it was new to my radar. And I'm not sure if we ever talked about it, though. But at the bottom of Lake Michigan, there is basically a Stonehenge. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Did you guys know that?
No.
I didn't know that. So in 2007, there was a professor that basically went down there and discovered a series of stones arranged in a 40-foot circle. And there was a weird thing, was one of the stones outside of the circles had a carving of that resembled a mastodon, which is a prehistoric elephant, which was known to exist about 10,000 years ago.
Boy, that's interesting.
Well, you got to think about it. This had to have been built before the lake was a lake.
Now, which lake again? Remind me. Lake Michigan.
Yeah,
that's
Lake
one of the Great Lakes. Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know? Are those glacier formed lakes? How were those lakes made? Do we know?
I believe they're glacier. I think they just receded back, and as they probably went back, is when they filled with water. But
I'm so bad. I have no idea. Like, the timeline of glaciers. I know they move slowly. I don't know when the Ice Age was. I really don't know anything about those timelines.
Nature, if things come in square shapes.
Yeah, were we riding dinosaurs like cowboys 10,000 years back? I don't know. Was that when Jesus was alive?
There was a time when the Earth was in an ice age, and what happened is it warmed up, and it kind of receded upwards, and that's where the caps, they're just melting on the way.
I buy it.
The thing is, what they went down there actually to find was like just weird shit, sunken ships, cars, even like they found
huge
Civil War paraphernalia shit down there.
Oh, awesome!
They never expected to find this, but they did. It was just an amazing thing.
Boy, interesting. Yeah, post them shits for sure.
There are pictures. They're not on this link. But I did see pictures prior to it, so I will have to post those.
So they've gone down with like a little submarine and gotten like close-up pictures, or are we talking like sonar from the surface or something?
They had to go down there and had pictures because
I got to see them shits.
There's, like they said, there's one stone outside the circle that seems to have some kind of carving of a mastodon, basically an elephant.
Wow. Isn't it amazing how much news that's like pretty insane and pretty awesome that you just never fucking hear about unless you really go looking for it?
Wouldn't you think that would be kind of like I don't know, at that time a little bit out there? It's like, because we have Columbus Day. We all kind of know Columbus really didn't discover America, but
prove it.
There's ancient druids for you. I think there was a big notion that the Vikings were actually the ones that first landed.
Yeah, there's all sorts of theories and evidence. We all know at this point. I'm going to be talking about some of the history of Thanksgiving from a holiday standpoint, not the the origins themselves. But we've all, I think, heard how much bullshit the history books were, and I think they're changing. I mean, God, it's been 20 years since most of us were reading history books, so I think that they're updating some of them, but mostly we know that it didn't really go, well, hi, friend. Hello, friend. Let's be friends and have fucking, turkey. The whole thing has basically been made up, and once you learn the real story, it's no mystery to see why it was made up. We don't want this to be the origin of how this country was built. We want it to sound a little nicer, and we can leave the smallpox blankets part out at least, right? We can all get on page on that. But anyway, well, that's interesting. Yeah, post them shits for sure, and I can't wait to see some video or pictures of this stuff.
Totally.
Well, as I said, with Thanksgiving this week, I thought we would feast on some rather tasty and some not so tasty food-related tomfoolery, or tomfoodery, I should say.
Oh, boy.
No, I should not say that.
No.
So pull up a chair, scoop up some taters and gravy, and settle in. Up first, I thought it would be interesting to talk about, again, how Thanksgiving became a national holiday. And, all the lies that we grew up believing in and all that. The whole holiday is basically a lie, if you think about it. One juicy, delicious, delicious lie.
For what, marketing?
Well, kind of. That does go into... that probably has more to do with anything, honestly, to how we ended up there. Like every holiday.
Well, kind of like Halloween. I mean, if you really look at the roots of Halloween, it just...
Yes, where they start versus where it ends up. Mm-hmm. That's true with pretty much any, especially American holiday. It's funny, a lot of the European or the Celtic holidays, they stuck a little. I mean, they're not still doing sacrifice and shit, but they don't seem to have morphed those quite so far towards blatant commercialism like we have here, although it's tough to judge. Not living over there. But I was curious about how and when Thanksgiving actually became a recognized national holiday. And it really wasn't all that long ago. Most people think it was Lincoln that started it, but he really only had a hand in putting it on the books. But in the 1820s, a magazine editor named Sarah Josepha Hale, who also happened to pen the nursery rhyme Mary Had a Little Lamb, interestingly, she had a campaign going for years and years in her magazine, and she would get readers involved with it, writing letters to the White House and legislation saying it's time for a holiday, a national day of thanks. And this was all headed up by her, and finally Lincoln heeded her request. And yet it's Lincoln who often gets all the credit, but really was calling for a meal of Thanksgiving to be held on the fourth Thursday of November, but it was just sort of a generic, let's be thankful for what we have, for we may lose it tomorrow, getting our shit blown the fuck up. Not really tied to pilgrims, and later on, FDR actually changed the date to the third Thursday of the month solely to allow for more time for holiday shopping leading into Christmas. which I found interesting. I mean, of course it makes sense. FDR would be looking for any way to stimulate the economy during the Depression. And a lot of people say, well, World War II ultimately played a huge part of getting out of the Depression. And of course it did. I mean, that got the factories going. We needed people to build the giant bullets to build the fucking, all of that. War is a very bountiful enterprise, shall we say. But anywho, still, that seemed funny to me, but eventually that caused some people to complain too, so they settled on it being the last Thursday in November, but it took Congress getting involved to finally settle on that. Now, there had been informal days of Thanksgiving throughout history, going all the way back to those first fabled dinners that we hear about so much. But again, mostly they didn't have anything to do with the Pilgrims or the Indians or even a kind of dinner in general. It was really just a mixing of revisionist history propaganda and, like Lyle said, commercialism that finally honed it into the billion-dollar industry that it is today. Turkeys came much later, by most accounts, and now that alone is a huge industry. Same with stuffing. I mean, how often do we eat these? Turkey became popular with deli meats and all that stuff, but really, in terms of buying a whole turkey, once or twice a year at the most, and that didn't happen until we were told this is the meal that you want to buy for Thanksgiving. We really are chumps. I was listening to Adam Carolla earlier today, and the guy that does Adam, it's a different Adam, he does the show Adam Ruins Everything. He was talking about diamonds, how it was, we think of the diamond as being like a long, treasured way of proposing to the one that you love or showing somebody that you care. You got them the diamond, that means love. Well, that really didn't get going until the early 1900s when De Beers, one of the biggest diamond companies, just did a marketing campaign saying, this is the way to show the one that you love them, by going out spending a shit ton of money on this diamond. They started the entire idea of putting diamonds on engagement rings that we all think, well, that's just how you do it.
And that shit just stuck.
Yeah.
You know why?
It's like one of the most successful marketing campaigns of all time. That's all it is. Go ahead, Lau.
Because diamonds are forever.
They're fucking forever. You
So
can't argue it. Prove me wrong. Prove it. That's my new thing, and I can't stop saying it. But interesting to think that, these foods are, in some cases, they solely exist for this one holiday, at least on that widespread of a level. But anyway, interesting. That's a quick and dirty rundown of how we got to where we are. And it's the 40s. Again, this doesn't go back all the way to the birth of America or even, 200 or 100 years ago. And it wasn't even, none of it was related to the T-Day that we all know and love. It was solely marketing. It was the turkey industry pushing the turkey. And that, again, with revisionist history, painting this picture of history that never was. And so we feel, again, marketing genius at work here. We feel an instant attachment to something. We feel like a kinship with something that feels time-honored. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what De Beers was able to do with diamonds almost immediately. It's like, oh, yeah, it's tradition. I got you that diamond necklace last year. I got to get you one for our anniversary or for your... It's immediate tradition. Well, this was almost overnight. In the 1940s is when you started seeing more of that traditional... And really, the 50s is where the whole turkey and the cranberry and the durkey onion casserole, these are new traditions, and the candied yams, those are those recipes are classic 50s. In fact, the two recipes that I'm going to be sharing with y'all tonight, sort of a twist on 1950s sort of junk food thrown together. I love that kind of food, too. Anyway, in keeping with the tasty food stuff edition of the Space Pod, on to the rest of the tomfoodery. Up first, some of the most well-known gluttons of all time. First, good old Elvis Presley. And it's sad that he became as famous for his appetite as he did his music, but I guess that's just American celebrity for y'all. But I was just musing a couple days on Facebook how funny it is to look at quote-unquote fat Elvis pictures these days. He just looks like average white guy weight. This really goes for all the classic fatties of yore. The Skipper, Spanky from Little Rascals, Babe Ruth, they all look fucking normal now. We're all so fucking huge. Yeah, go ahead, Lau.
I'm pretty sure it was before the invention of a microwave.
Yeah, when did the microwave come out? 60s, 70s?
Yeah. Like fast food and shit like that.
Well, 50s was where we really started going with junk food. That was where McDonald's and KFC and all those. But
here's the drive-ins. You get your drive-in burger or whatever. But I think they kind of that era was the first of like frozen meals.
Mm-hmm. TV dinners. Oh, I love TV dinners.
Yeah.
I have a weird affinity for TV dinners. The whole thing, their aesthetic, their name, the whole market. To talk about a genius marketing campaign, how can we take these shitty, tasteless, get loaded with sodium and MSG and horrible things for you meals that nobody wants in these foil packages and make them sell like hotcakes? One genius marketing consultant at Swanson said, well, what's all the rage right now? TV. TV's brand new. These things are sort of in the shape of TVs. Let's design the package to look like a television set. Call it TV dinner. We'll have a hip atomic age family on the label eating on their TV trays, which was a new invention, in front of the tube. And everyone went apey for it. And it was all the way up until the 90s that they were called TV dinners. Now, everybody eats in front of the TV, if you look, that is what made people eat in front of the TV. You thought that you could only eat a TV dinner in front of the TV, and then people got wise and like, wait a minute, we don't have to eat this shit. We can make our own TV dinner and put it on a TV tray. Well, all of us have grandparents that had TV trays. You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
You keep them by the recliner. You set up TV tray. I looked everywhere a couple of years back for a cool set of retro TV trays. I still am looking. I can't find the right ones. Go ahead, Chris.
Somebody brought a set of those to Extra Life. They were immensely helpful.
They're fucking genius. And why doesn't everybody... Now you can put your laptop on them.
Uh-huh.
Students on the go, students living in a studio apartment. Go get yourself a fucking TV tray. You can eat your TV dinner on it. And it pains me that they no longer call them TV dinners. Now they're like Hungry Man or the Big Daddies. But those things are fucking horrible. My favorite was Salisbury Steak. I did a photo comic in the first issue of Radar Station with Cat Stevens' husband, James. Did you guys ever see that? It's called TV
I'm sure I saw it. I can't remember what it was about, though.
They're in space on a space station, and he's obsessed with Salisbury Steak. But I'll post a link. It's actually on the whole story. It's like a 7-page story. It's on the website, and I'll post a link to that in the forum, thespacepod.yuka.com, and the Facebook page. But it's they're obsessed with Salisbury Steak, which is always my favorite. And a few years ago, well, about 10 or so years ago, when I started getting more healthy, I just happened to check the contents on one of those TV dinner things. It was like, it was seriously like 800% of your day sodium. And I mean, the fat and all that is one thing, and the MSG, but the sodium was insane for one of those hungry mans. Insane.
Gotta keep fresh.
What's fucked up about this whole show is we're going to be talking about so many food-related things. Some of them are not pleasant at all. I know that people are going to have the same effect listening as I did when I was doing the notes for this today. I was starving and drooling. Just all this food talk made me so fucking hungry. So I thought it was perfect for Thanksgiving. Elvis was no 300-pounder, but he was a famous glutton. He, of course, was known for his favorite snack, the fried in butter, that is, peanut butter and banana sandwich. And here's a little fact I got off Listverse. It says, one restaurant in Denver made a fancier version of the sandwich called Fool's Gold, using an entire Italian loaf containing peanut butter, jelly, and a pound of bacon.
Oh, my God.
It cost $50 back in the 70s. One night, Presley had a craving so bad, he took his entourage to his private jet, and they flew from Memphis to Denver so that he could eat some fool's gold to satisfy his hunger. The cost of this food run was around $16,000.
Wow, back then.
That's the life, man. Tit money for Elvis, though.
Right.
I mean, he built Graceland. You don't do that without having tit money to spend on a foot-long fucking...
Did you try it?
I've had the... what's funny is that most restaurants that sell this sandwich, they call it the Elvis. Right. And I've had one, and they are fucking delicious.
I've never had one. I'd like to try one.
It's not everyday affair. If you like peanut butter and you like bananas, just imagine that deep-fried in butter. It's fucking amazing, actually. Dude was onto something, but, he would sometimes eat between 10 and 20 in a day. He had a fucking... the dude should have been huge. If he wasn't on so many amphetamines, he probably would have been. King Henry VIII was also a known fan of the insane meal. He apparently would invite others to gorge with him, though. He liked to watch other people shove their fat faces. As somebody who cooks a lot, I appreciate watching people enjoy my food. It's a sort of a... I wouldn't say get off on it, but it warms my heart to see the fruits of my labor being shoved down their gullet. Why, that sounds filthy, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Shove my fruits down your gullet.
Wow.
They even had to extend the royal kitchen for King Henry to 55 rooms long to accommodate for his feasts that often included 14 courses.
Wow.
Lobster, venison, wild boar, pears, plums, and nearly any other fruit you can imagine, quail, and even porpoise. Who wants a fin? Slice me off one of them fins, would you? Porpoise.
That's not dolphin friendly at all.
Not at all. Well, maybe they didn't do it on purpose.
That was better than the last one.
Really? Yeah, I feel like I'm going downhill. I feel like I'm going back to front.
Oh.
How dare you?
And then for dessert, heaps and heaps of custard and wine. Sumptuous. God, you would just feel like... I mean, we talked about some people that actually died from eating too much on a previous show. We've all been so full that you just want to die. Coming up on Thanksgiving, this is the day that we all agree to do it. To me, it's one of the worst feelings on the planet. It's like true misery. You're just like
binging, or you're like overfull.
Fuck, because you're just stuck. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, you know what's beautiful is that when it's Thanksgiving, it's turkey, and turkey gets a lot of tryptophan, and that makes you tired, and then you just like sleep, and then you have your power nap, and you're ready to eat more.
Mm-hmm. I guess I do kind of get sleepy, but mostly I always feel better if I just do a slow, meandering walk around the block a couple of times. Just to. Well, you thought I was going somewhere else, didn't you?
I did.
Where'd you think
I still am not certain.
I'm sorry to have let you down. Next up, the Italian composer Gioacchino Rossini. I'm probably butchering that first name, but I know it's Rossini. I love Rossini. Now, one look at this mammoth of a man would let you know of his voracious appetites, but he... appetites, it just occurred to me. It's a great name for man boobs.
Yeah, right?
Appetites. I mean, how'd you get them there, boobies? You ate your way to them, right?
Sounds a little prehistoric, but yeah.
Appetites. Henceforth. But Rossini loved to eat and drink so much that he just kind of walked away from a very successful composing career so that he could spend more time eating and drinking. I fucking love that story. It's like, fuck it, you see? All I need is some food and vino. And maybe occasional blowjob. Rossini was actually once quoted as saying he's cried only 3 times. The first was the first time he ever performed an opera, and that went so terribly wrong it brought him to tears. The second was the first time he heard Paganini play the violin. And the third was during a boat trip to a picnic when a roasted turkey stuffed with wild mushrooms fell overboard.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's a great quote. His appetites were so famous that there are many Italian dishes named after him, including Tornadoes Rossini and Eggs Rossini. Now that's an appetite. And he had 2 bouncy appetites. But while food and drink are usually things of much pleasure, it can also leave one vulnerable to poisoning. So I thought it'd be fun to look at a few notable cases of poisoning throughout history. First off, one of the most famous, Socrates, the famed philosopher. I swear I haven't been drinking, philosopher. He was forced to drink hemlock as punishment for apparently leading the youth of Athens away from the government and away from the gods with his fancy schmancy philosophy. But interestingly, Socrates apparently could have likely just gotten away with paying a fine for his crimes, but because he was defiant and he sort of lowballed the court with an offering so low that it embarrassed the court, and they said, "Fuck you, funny man, now you die." And they made him drink poison. Really bounced back in space.
To the lions.
Sometimes you can rage against the machine, and sometimes you ought to just pay the fine. He'd still be alive today. Now Rasputin, who I'm working on a full story on for a future show, he was served his favorite meal of cakes, but they were laced with cyanide. And I love the story of his dad death, even though it's almost certainly exaggerated. But this had no effect on him. The cyanide had zero effect, so his assassins were forced to shoot him over and over again. And he still wouldn't die, so they had to beat him and then finally drown him in a river.
What'd they shoot him with? I'm thinking bolts, right? I'm thinking like arrows, right?
This was, there's photos of Rasputin, so maybe late 1800s. I'm not sure, but there definitely would have been guns. They ended up having to drown him in the fucking river, and then he finally died. But legend was that he was still hissing and his eyes were still looking around after he died. This, of course, added to the notion that Rasputin was somehow a creature from hell. But more on that in a future episode. And a lot of people are like, I've heard that name, but what's up with Rasputin? There's a lot to talk about with that dude. But anywho... of course, you can't talk about poisoning without a mention of Typhoid Mary. Holy shit, this woman, again, probably deserves a whole show of her own, but in a nutshell, it was Mary Milan, who was a cook working in New York City at the turn of the century. She was linked to at least 33 cases of typhoid fever, 3 of which resulted in death, and this was caused by her serving food or water infested with her own infected feces.
Ooh.
Yeah, apparently typhoid has a gestation period of like 2 weeks, and those that survive it carry typhoid with them the rest of their lives. It was like polio used to be. When if you survived polio, I think it was a similar thing. Polio was always in your shit,
and that's why you wipe.
Always.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
Yeah, you don't want to give typhoid balls.
No.
So she had typhoid. She got cured or lived through it, and she knew that she had typhoid in her shit. And she just couldn't help herself. She had to shit in everybody's food, and she kept getting jobs serving people. So after spreading the disease through a series of cooking jobs, she was finally apprehended in the summer of 1906 while working at a place called Oyster Bay on Long Island's North Shore. She was imprisoned for 3 years and released, and after she was released, she returned to cooking and continued to spread typhoid. And
got to be shitting me.
Got to be shitting me. You got to be shitting in me soup. And the next time she was put away, it was for much longer, and she actually died after 23 years of incarceration. Huh. I can't explain it. I just got to serve the people my poo. I'm an artist. I'm a shartist.
Oh, my God.
How's that soup doing?
See, they are getting better, Ron.
There's a story that we all know, but our listeners might not know. But like, I don't know. I want to say 6 years ago.
Taco Bell.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe a couple of years ago, longer. There was a kid, obviously disgruntled.
One more time.
I love that. Say that again.
I said, honestly, he had been disgruntled.
This is perfect.
Still good.
Yeah.
He got.
Was that? Did we talked about this before? Was this actually a story? Because it sounded like an urban legend. I never saw it in the paper or anything.
It was in the paper.
Okay.
The kid got caught shitting in the beans at Taco Bell over in Wenatchee.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew what happened about it. Obviously he lost his job.
Yeah, everyone heard about it for sure.
Well, yeah, and everybody boycotted.
Yeah, well, it's a big fucking deal. Who wants to eat shit beans?
Well, not it.
1, 2, 3, not it. Yeah.
I'm just saying that shit happens.
That shit does happen at Taco Bell.
Don't piss off people. Don't piss off people that work in restaurants.
Doesn't it drive you fucking crazy when you are at a restaurant with somebody and they're immediately dicks to the servers? You're like
one of your friends. You're like, oh God, God.
Like fucking hell. What do you think they're doing back there, asshole? This is what we've all worked in the industry. If somebody pisses you off, it's almost your duty to do something to their fucking food.
You don't send a steak back.
It's your duty to go back there. Well, there's more relatively local Taco Bell stories coming up later, but one interesting accidental poisoning that I read about was Beethoven. I've heard about this for a while. Most people know that Beethoven, started to go deaf in his 20s or 30s, but it was a slow progression. It's funny how many people think he was born deaf. I mean, Beethoven is impressive, but that would be a heck of a story. Is this pretty? Yes? Tell me. But some researchers... Wow. I am hitting the whiskey tonight. Some researchers got...
Some researchers. You fucking shortened researchers to reachers.
It's not beyond the scope, beyond the pale. Don't make me disgruntled. Some researchers got a piece of Beethoven's exhumed skull because people were curious about what killed him. There's a lot of different theories, and they claim that he had highly toxic levels of lead in his system. At first they thought, well, maybe he was using lead utensils, and a lot of people were back then, and that just didn't seem to be enough to quite poison him to this degree. But this type of lead poisoning does jive with sensory damage, including vision and hearing loss. Very interesting. So that could also explain what ultimately killed him, too. But this is debated, and there's no real strong theory as to what killed Beethoven. But the lead thing, it's guessed that he was drinking a supposed cure for some of the simple ailments he had, but it was actually poisoning him with high levels of lead. And that would be a sad thing to learn, that all Beethoven had to do to correct or at least stop his deafness, the progression of it, was to stop taking his daily meds that this retard doctor... I mean, nobody knew anything about lead back then, But if all he had to do was stop taking his daily medicines, he probably would have gotten better. A fucking sad thought. Moving on, poisoning isn't the only risk, of course, when eating. Choking is a major concern. Ladies and gentlemen, do chew slow. Don't laugh. No sudden movements. How many of us have almost choked to death? Like, the choking to death would be such a fucking stupid way to die. I remember Lyle had a breakfast incident in one of the earlier episodes.
Those fucking breakfast burritos.
Almost died. I'm convinced that Dollface will die choking. She chokes on her own spit like 30 times a day. I have seen her almost choke to death too many times to count. I don't know what it is, if she's got some sort of fucked up esophagus. I think we know why. But anyway, some notable victims of eating with uncaution. Attila the Hun. I think we might have talked about this on an earlier episode. He was thought to have choked to death during a feast celebrating his marriage. He choked so violently that blood shot out his nose as he gasped his last breaths. A horrible, embarrassing, humiliating way to die in front of everybody you know. And they're all looking at you, what the fuck is happening? Why are you shitting your pants and shooting blood out your face? And you're dying. Do you suppose his wife looked over at him and said, "Hun, you okay?"
Let me go get you some water down by the creek.
Get it? Hun?
Oh, Attila the Hun. Yeah.
Chris, did you cut out?
Yeah, just leave it.
Did we lose you, or?
I just can't anymore, Ron.
I appreciate that. Musician Tommy...
I've gone disgruntled.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Musician Tommy Dorsey, I didn't know this till I looked this list up, had a strange poisoning death. Apparently he had taken some sleeping pills. Later on, he had some sort of acid reflux that caused him to choke on his meal that he ate earlier. They think that the pills deadened his reflexes so much that he slept through what normally would have woken him up, and he just would have had to cough or choke it out or swallow properly. But
just choke it out, bro.
He just snored and died. Choke it out. Tennessee Williams, writer of such classics as A Streetcar Named Desire and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, choked not on food but on the cap of his eye drops. Probably had it in his mouth whilst he leaned back and put them in, and lights out. Don't put shit in your mouth, man. Ever. Nothing. Not even
Period.
food. Yep. It's the only safe way. People do that with screws and nails. And I used to do it until we did a show that had similar, weird ways that you ingested things that killed you. And, too many stories about people dying by swallowing a nail that they were hanging a picture or something. Horrible, horrible way to die. Because
I just did that 2 days ago.
I do. I still had to fight the. Yeah, you died, Chris. Talking from beyond. Sound very clear. This is all right. Death is all right. Apparently, you don't know. Of course, the official cause, if you buy it, the official cause of Jimi Hendrix's death was choking on wine and vomit. But as we talked a while back, there's some strange shit with that whole story.
I think about that all the time now.
Yeah, he was filled with wine. It's so clear and obvious to even the first doctor on the scene that somebody had dumped an entire bottle of wine down his gullet, because wine doesn't just sit in your mouth. You don't drink that much wine that it flows all the way back up. I mean, can you imagine that?
Speak for yourself, Ronster.
Well, think about how full you have been. Speaking of Thanksgiving full, we've never had shit actually come. It feels like it's going to start coming back up, and maybe some acid comes back up later, acid reflux. Shit doesn't actually come back up that is full, my friend. So I think it's pretty easy to buy some shenanigans with the Jimi Hendrix death. And many people think that Mama Cass from Mamas and the Papas choked to death on a ham sandwich. That was the story for years and years, and a lot of people still think it's true. But that was shot down pretty early on. It was actually a heart attack, and the police that arrived on the scene just noted a half-eaten ham sammy by her body.
Oh, bummer.
They kind of put that on a note, and it just ran with it. But the autopsy showed no food in her windpipe and all the signs of a heart attack.
I wonder how many fucking people, heard that, and then every time they looked at a ham sandwich, thought of that. Just
Never
because
again?
of that.
Never again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure to this day. To wrap up, here's a few bizarre junk food-related deaths. Vincent Smith Jr. apparently fell into a giant vat of boiling chocolate at a chocolate factory. I mean, this is right out of the fucking...
Willy Wonka?
Yeah. All this took place in Pennsylvania-based Lyons & Son chocolate factory. His co-workers attempted to stop the propellers when Smith fell in off a platform. But
pushed him in.
yeah, they were too late. So I don't know if he died from the scalding chocolate, if he drowned, or if he got chopped up. It didn't say in the story, but he died from falling into a vat of chocolate.
He was not happy either way.
No. I knew that couldn't end well, as delicious as it looked. A couple years back, going back to Lyle's story, this is Spokane. Do you guys remember this? I don't know if they ever figured out what happened, but a guy was found dead in one of the Taco Bell freezers.
What?
Yeah, just found dead. There's no signs of struggle, no health issues, no suicide or anything. And they even said that there were no clear signs of exposure. So they don't know what killed the guy, how he got in there. I don't think he worked there. It was like an employee went in to grab some poop beans, normal Tuesday afternoon, and there was this guy just slumped over, frozen dead.
Shit.
Well, maybe he couldn't get out.
Well, they have those release things on the door, and they said that it was fully functioning. So
If we're smart enough to use it or knew how to use it.
smart enough to use the giant button that says push here. Yeah, I mean I worked at Godfather's 20 years ago, and things are only safer now. They make a bigger deal of safety shit. And I got stuck for 5 minutes in the Godfather's walk-in freezer because I couldn't find the button, but it was just because it was white, and so was the door.
Were you fucking terrified?
Freaking out.
No, I was just knocking on the door and eating frozen meatballs. Okay, well, it's not too cold. I could live in here for at least 20 minutes. Survive off frozen meatballs. That's where I developed a taste for frozen food. I'll eat frozen tater tots. I'll get a couple handfuls of them. Frozen pizza rolls.
I can only imagine the next time you and I are in a life-threatening situation. You're just I need meatballs now.
They gotta be frozen. Don't you cook them shits. I need 2 meatballs. If they come cooked, I send it back. Delicious, I'm telling you. There's something about the texture of a frozen meatball. Anything that's pre-cooked, it's fairly safe to eat, but cold on the teeth, exercise your chompers with them frozen foods.
Mm-hmm. It's the only way you're going to get a tapeworm, too.
Here's one last weird one from List First. Croatian branch of McDonald's recently took flack when employees continued to serve food after a female staff suddenly dropped dead at the counter. It's reported that a white napkin was placed over her face following unsuccessful attempts at resuscitation.
Just a white nap.
And then the restaurant staff continued to prepare and serve the food to other customers.
Fuck that.
Mm-hmm. I'm hating it. Officials claim... Hey, we finally got one. Officials claimed that only the drive-thru was kept operational throughout the duration of the ordeal. Witnesses testify otherwise. Can you imagine that? You walk in, you just see somebody slumped over. There's napkins placed over their head, and
Jesus.
You'd like to supersize that?
What's that?
Is she okay, or
what did she have? Because I don't want
whatever.
that.
She's not having. Anywho, well, before we get on to news quiz, I know we got a little bit more from you, Chris, and I wanted to share some recipes. Is John Mark with us again?
No, he's not.
Would one of you text him real quick and tell him we're about to do the recipes, see if he can log on? I thought with the epic length wow, words are tough tonight. Mm-hmm. With the epic length Thanksgiving Space Pod, I thought we could share some of our favorite recipes. I've only got a couple, but Now, these are recipes that can work for just about any occasion. I'll start with two of my most popular dishes ever. Now, I actually do cook, as mentioned before. I can make very intricate and elegant meals, but these two are almost joke recipes, and by far the most popular things I've ever made. First is a tasty little twist on the tater tot casserole. I call this chili cheese tater tot casserole supreme. Super easy. Oh, it's making my mouth water already. Stupid easy, actually. 2 cans of chili, or 4 cups of homemade chili, if you want to be fancier. But I find it tastier with just get your favorite canned chili. And this can work with vegetarian chili, too. That's actually what I usually make it with. 1 medium tub of sour cream, 2 cups of shredded cheese, and 1 bag of extra crispy tater tots. Get a medium or large baking dish like you'd make lasagna in, and start with the chili. Just spread it out over the dish, nice and flat. Then the entire tub, or less if you like, of sour cream. I like it saucy and sour creamy. Again, smooth, flat over the chili. Then sprinkle on 3 of the 4 cups of shredded cheddar on top of that. And then top that with the frozen tater tots, all neat in little rolls, just like Grandma used to make, and put in the oven for 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. Once the tater tots are golden and crispy, take it out, let it cool for a few, and now you can sprinkle on the rest of the cheese. Once the cheese melts and it stands for about 10-15 minutes, you're ready to dig in. And this is a huge fucking hit at parties.
It is good. I have had it.
It's just fucking simple, crispy, cheesy, chili goodness.
Not my favorite thing you make, though.
Well, my most popular dish, by far, is the even simpler mini chicken cordon bleu.
I do believe I've had this as well. It is delicious.
Well, I'm dying to know what your favorite dish of mine is.
Patacos.
Oh, patacos. Yeah.
They're so unique, and it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Very similar flavors, though. Tacos, if you think about it. Potatoes, sour cream, cheese. It's everything you want. In fact, you can obviously make variations of this. It's like lasagna. You put whatever you want into it. Mm-hmm. Oh, and sometimes if I'm feeling really fancy, I will top with cool guacamole.
I have to say, you recently put up a video that was very tasty-esque. It was a video of how to make your Irish stew.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I want you to do more of those. I thought that was really fun.
I think we should start doing some silly little SpacePod videos. Yeah. It's so easy. These $2 or $3 video editing apps you can get. Mm-hmm. You can put together a little movie. I do it all the time for the gallery now to advertise what shows we're doing. You know, sort of little trailers, previews of the shows, and it's so much fucking fun. And people go nutty over them. But I love watching those tasty videos. I'll watch like 30 or 40 of them in a row. They're fun. They're inspiring. But they're just soothing to watch.
It's how every cooking segment should be. Just fucking straight to the point.
Just get to it. I don't need your, sometimes I like a little Out and Brown tell me the history of something, but sometimes I just want to know how to fucking make something in 30 seconds. Yep. By far, my most popular dish is, like I said, even simpler. These are mini chicken cordon bleus. These things will be gone in 30 minutes at a party. I guarantee it. 1 bag of chicken nugs, 1 package of deli sliced ham, and 1 package of sliced Swiss cheese. Cook the nugs as you normally would, baking them. I find it easiest to bake them. Once they're about 85% done, pull them out and let them cool on the top of the oven for a few minutes. And once they're cool enough to touch, butterfly them little bastards. Butterfly the nuggets. It's a soothing experience. And then slice the cheese and ham into 1-inch squares and put 2 slices each in each of the butterfly nuggets. Then put the tops on, make the little sandwiches out of them, put them back in the oven, and cook them the rest of the way until they're crispy and golden on the outside and the cheese is all ooey and gooey out the sides. Then pull them out, put them on a fancy little plate, stab each one with a toothpick, and you're ready to rock. These are so fucking good, and they really do taste like little tiny chicken cordon bleus. I'm telling you, when you make these, you will crave them for the rest of your life. They're perfect after drinking food, after a night of drinking, after a night of the devil's business. You worked up a good sweat. What you guys got?
Well, I got... Oh, holy shit, my oven's beeping at me. It's craziness.
Timely.
Madness.
Yeah. Well, this is the cooking episode. Food episode.
I got a good one for taco dip, which I can't take credit for. I actually got the recipe from a friend of mine's wife.
What the fuck is taco dip?
Well, it's it's dip that tastes like a taco.
Mm-hmm. Simple. Very simple.
So you just take a pound of ground beef. I usually use I think about 20% fat, 80% lean. So you brown that up and just follow the instructions like you would to make, taco ground beef. You throw a packet of taco seasoning in there and all that stuff. So in one of those glass pie plates, you take a can of refried beans, like spread it all around the bottom for one layer. And then the order of the layers, you can kind of do whatever you want. I don't know what's the best order, but I usually start with the beans. So do the beans, and then you put like on top of the beans a layer of a little bit of sour cream, spread that around. And then you put the meat, and then you put some salsa, and then you put a bunch of cheese over the top of that shit, and you stick in the oven at like 350, 400 for about 20 minutes. And you're good to go.
Yeah. It's very simple, but very fucking tasty.
I mean, you can do whatever you want too. You can throw some. You can put some pickled jalapenos in there. You could put, olives in there. Just whatever. Exactly.
I am getting hungry.
I'm telling you, this episode, even the fucked up food stories, have made me hungry. Yeah. Very nice. And you had another one, didn't you, John Mark?
I have a recipe.
Wait, Chris,
for
is that you eating?
No, I
guys,
wish.
Who's gotten hungry?
You guys don't like seafood too much, do you? Or
no.
you
Chris
don't,
and I
anyways,
don't.
right?
No,
I don't.
So these oysters are killer, and I didn't used to like oysters too much either. But so you just take however many oysters you want, and you stick them in the oven about 400 degrees, I think, for about 10 minutes till the shells start to sort of pop, maybe, and then you shuck them. Put them back in for about another 5 minutes after you put on top of them a little bit of sprinkled bacon, some cheese, some white cheese of some sort, whatever kind you want, really. A little bit of Worcestershire, and some Tabasco or sriracha in there. And you just bake that shit for like 5 minutes, and then you just eat it just out of the shell. Oh, so good.
Oysters, I actually really like the smell of oysters, and it's one of those foods where I wish I ate it, but I don't know if I'm allergic to shellfish or just terribly, terribly unlucky, because I used to love shrimp, I used to love prawns and crab and lobster, and I don't know, I feel like I would probably like it, even though I'm really a texture guy and the texture's a little snotty for my taste, but there's other things in life that I like where the texture is questionable, so I think I might actually enjoy them, but I just won't do it because my fear of food poisoning is too risk. Wow, so risk.
So much risk.
Very fear.
That's a barbecue spot.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that on the barbecue too.
Yeah, well, Lau, you had some tips on frying turkey or chicken?
There's a thing about frying a turkey, deep frying a turkey that
always outdoors.
The do's and don'ts. Okay. And I'm sure everybody's seen like videotapes of this shit happening. I personally been doing it for like 10 years, so it's like not a big deal. But what you really want to do is never ever put a frozen turkey in a pot like that. When it's boiling at its temperature, it'll explode.
Yeah. Frozen anything into hot oil, I learned the hard way when I was trying to make wontons or pot stickers or something. They're frozen. I threw it in. I didn't realize how hot my oil was. Immediately started a fire. But I was a badass. I grabbed through the flames, and it was spewing. I have scars all over my arm. But if I hadn't pulled it off the heat, it easily would have climbed into a full-on house fire at Leah's parents' house. So I had to grab it, and boy, it hurt, and I felt stupid, but yeah.
Well, I'll tell you guys at least the prep work. All right. So what you do is you usually get like a giant 10-gallon, metal container that's usually, made for such a occasion thing with a burner at the bottom. What you do is you take one said turkey, even when it's still in the plastic, and you stick it in there, and you fill it with water until you get to probably about 2 inches, or so from the top, or till it's completely submerged, but not overly submerged. Where you're brimmed to the top with the water.
Mm-hmm. Filled to the rim with the brim.
You want to, and the reason why you do it with water is it's just to check to see how much oil you need. So what you do is you take a mark.
Oh, good tip.
You use a Sharpie on the inside of the thing, and then you pull it out and dump the water out.
Very smart.
Then you fill it with the oil. You pull
that's like throwing a
second mark.
A dummy, attaching a dummy that weighs 200 pounds off of a building attached to a bungee cord before you send your friend You guys seen that video out there? The guy that jumped off the building and they didn't measure properly
For the basement.
Here I come, and dead. It's fucking tragic.
No, I haven't seen that.
Because nobody accounted for that. There's no 13th floor. They measured, it was like they're on the 15th or 16th floor, but there's no 13th. So they did the math wrong, and they made him one floor too long, and he just hit his fucking head right on the ground.
Yeah, didn't even stretch the cord. No, it was horrible.
It's pretty sad.
So anyway, where we're at, you got the turkey in there with the water and the plastic. You actually, before you make that mark, you pull the turkey out, then you make your mark. That mark is where you fill the oil up. You get it to proper temperature. Mm-hmm. And you gradually, slowly, even as intimidating as it might be, slowly drop it in, and then you're good to go.
Yep.
It's usually a 20-minute process, and it's fully cooked. You usually just take it.
It's a whole different thing too. That deep fried turkey, so juicy. God,
it is really good.
Damn it, I'm hungry.
I know.
I love that a lot of people are going to be listening to this episode probably on their drive to Thanksgiving. A lot of people listen to us when they drive, so.
Travel.
It's a great time to hear it as you're heading to your day of feast. Well, good tips. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, you have a new segment you want to introduce to the Space Pod.
Yeah, I liked all these comments and fun posts we're getting on our Facebook page. So I just kind of want to highlight some of our best from Facebook, from our fans here. Let's see, this note's from Brandon Schultz. He says, should have titled the last episode, You're Pooping Wrong. Holy smokes, I was rolling.
I'm telling you, we heard so much feedback, both in person and on email, that I'll share at a future date. But people loved that topic. I promise you, more than probably anything we've talked about recently, that got more conversations in whatever room or whatever car our episode was playing.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And fun.
Twice.
And I did science afterwards.
And we learned a little something about all of us, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, just when we thought there wasn't anything left to discover.
Such a simple thing that we all do, and yet such room for diversity.
Does that make the romance officially dead in our podcast?
No. There's something special about being at that stage where you poop in front of each other, I suppose.
That's fair.
We're not there
yet.
It's
only been 5 years. We've got so much more to discover.
We've only just begun. Okay, what you got?
Wait till you find out how I jerk off.
Well, that I know. Let's just say that I wasn't quite asleep.
John Mark has been posting a lot of our older episodes to YouTube. It's been really fascinating to see those go up and posting those to Facebook. Tabitha Evans chimed in on the episode 001 you put up, and she says, back when you were little baby space potters.
That's true. She's one of the very few people that was in at the ground level. Actually, she was interested in the show right away. So
yeah,
she did it the right way, though. She organically grew with us. We talked about how odd it is to go back and hear these early episodes. So again, for any new listeners, if you do go back and listen to these episodes John Mark is posting on our YouTube page, be warned, it's a different thing. We find our way. There's no other way around it.
We posted that video that I think Lyle brought last week of the Earth kind of breathing under the trees. I thought it just captured my imagination, but several people were quick to point out that it was the root system, likely, of the trees in a high wind situation, like the actual roots moving because the tree is swaying.
I found that baffling because I've seen a lot of tall trees here in Wenatchee, Washington. It's a very windy place at times. Mm-hmm. I've never seen this, so it must be something to do with like the swampy, marshy
type tree, or something.
Scotia too. It's off an island. It's like
it must be more damp or something. But
Thurston Gore,
but I believe it. Yeah,
Ethan Ferguson and Ken Costa all were making comments about that. It was pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's see. And this was funny. Stephen Moyers commented when we posted last week's episode saying, strolled into a Taco Bueno for the sole purpose of stealing Wi-Fi long enough to download the episode. And he followed that up with, in other news, Wi-Fi at Taco Bueno sucks.
Nice.
That made me laugh.
I love the effort.
Me too. We're going to try to start getting some of our awesome listeners in for News Quiz. And What better way to start this off than with Moses motherfucking Hernandez?
He is one of our biggest supporters on Facebook, no question.
He's actually, he posts some great shit too. I think I mentioned this before, but I'm starting to get lots of great show ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've stolen quite a bit from him too.
The knife-wielding tentacle video might have been something that he posted, now that you mention it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, he may as well be the fifth. How many of them? Wow, I'm drinking. I've switched to a stronger whisk. I have cut back on my drinking. I decided that my new rule is no more drinking alone. Not because it's sad or because it's wrong. I don't believe any of that shit. But because I need to lose 5 pounds. And I think that alone will do it. Because I like to drink. I like to drink alone. All right, let me enter. You guys got any plans for Thanksgiving?
I'm working.
Well, yeah, you're always working. What, those Indians believe in Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I don't know why.
What? How dare they open a casino on Thanksgiving? Doesn't make it's downright un-American. It's been interesting to read a lot about the the true history of Thanksgiving while simultaneously scrolling through Facebook and saying, "Not on my land."
Yep.
It's fucking amazing.
Oh man,
what are you gonna do? Okay, so he accepted. Let me get him.
Did you hear about Putin?
What's the latest?
Fuck, dude, he's just going fucking apeshit over fucking there. He blew up
ISIS.
330 something fucking sites in the last 48 hours.
In Syria.
Yeah. There's some about like 800,000 fucking immigrants that are leaving Russia to go back home.
Well, somebody posted a picture on Facebook not too long ago of just random streets shots of Syria, like real-time street shots of Syria.
Right.
And it was fucking frightening. And it's like, this is what people are running from. And I think in the bottom of the meme it said, "You would run too." I'm like, yeah, I would run too. I would do just about anything I fucking can to be a lifetime away from that insanity. I mean, it's like a ghost town of
Destruction.
Brick destruction and chaos. Moses, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Greetings from the Space Pod. Have we had you on the show before?
No, I don't think I've ever been on before.
Well, it's good to have you. You have actually had art hanging in the radar station gallery. You've contributed to many a story here in the Tales from the Space Pod universe. So we were just discussing that. I think I said 6, but I redid the math. You should be considered the 5th Beatle, as it were, the 5th Space Podian, because whether we credit you or not all the time, we are always stealing shit off of your Facebook.
Yeah,
So
I find a lot of weird shit.
Thanks for that, by the way.
Exhibit A, this podcast.
So you are playing, so are we doing a radar stage for Moses? Is that what we're doing? Typical thing, or?
You got anything special up your sleeve there, Ron?
I feel like there should be something special. This is our big Thanksgiving episode. I'm looking around my room. What can I give away? You know what? Brian Toohey's latest book. I'll buy that and I'll ship it to you if you win it. Let's do a free radar station, and we'll do not the fixes in. I think more of our guests might be interested in his latest book, which is, I don't remember the name of it, but it's something to do with government. Remember, he teased it right at the end of the show. It's going to be a great read. Well, let's put that in.
I love
Plug our guest and a little bonus for Turkey Day.
Let me tell you the order you're playing in and who you're going to be representing tonight.
Oh, wow, whiskey.
Ronster?
Yeah, go ahead.
You are playing for Tabitha Evans. I figured that was only fair.
Oh, it's only fair. That'll save me on shipping, too.
There you go.
If she wins.
Lyle, you're playing for Brandon Schultz.
Right on.
Seahawkers podcast.
Seahawkers podcast. Oh, my God. It's
Seahawkers
getting
of
good.
football. Listen, those guys are great.
John Mark, you're playing for Thurston Gore. Longtime fan.
Long time.
And then Moses, of course, you're representing yourself, brother.
Represent.
All right.
In the event of a tie, Stephen Moyers is going to be going home with the prize today.
See if you can part these seas, Moses.
Oh, no.
He's only heard that 300 times in his life.
Today.
The worst one was I keep getting one about a burning bush.
Ooh.
That one's always.
Always beware of the burning bush, Moses.
Chai you could get that might cure that, but
A little preparation H.
Moving forward. And then
Moving forward to back, because that's how God intended it.
Yep.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait. Moses, since you are the 5th Beatle at this stage, we need you to be terribly honest. Front to back or back to front?
Back to front.
Right, there you go. Nature's way.
What the fuck is going? What the fuck is happening?
And just like that,
what is happening?
I don't know. It just seems more natural.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
God, okay, at this point, I need a full-on poll from our fans. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people aren't on the Facebook, so let's get one going on Facebook. We'll also get one going on the forum, thespacepod.yuku.com. I need answers. I need to know. Please take your time to log on, ladies and gentlemen. This is for science and posterity and prosperity.
This is the fucking thing that's going to push 90% of our fans to like us on Facebook. They're like, you know what? I got to chime in.
We'll be at 1,000 by morning. Okay, well, I appreciate your honesty. Wow, I'm really starting to think I got to give this shoveling into my balls a try. I don't get it, though.
You know what? You don't shovel into your balls. That's your first fucking problem.
I guess you're right, but still, when you could just shovel away and not have to worry about it.
Here's what you do. Just set up a little barricade at your balls, right?
Little prostate dam.
Like a safety line,
little chode dam.
Yeah, and then just go to town. Nothing can harm them.
Yeah, all right.
Until you feel safe,
I might do that anyway. I like the idea of separating the states. All right, go ahead.
Question 1. In an article posted on ifuckinglovescience.com, which is a great website, we learned this week that thanks to some new technology, firefighters from Dubai will soon be using this to help them fight fires.
Mm-hmm.
Is it I? Holy shit. Wow.
Starting low in the alpha.
Mm-hmm. Is it A, jetpacks?
To fight fires.
Like fucking Bubba Fett?
Boy, we don't get any more deets than that, I guess.
Is it B, controlled weather fronts?
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Or is it C?
That's really interesting. Okay.
Dubai firefighters will be fighting fire with motherfucking fire.
Okay, well, we've been doing that for 100 years, but what else? Where are these people again?
Dubai, come on, dude.
Dubai. Well, they're pretty technologically advanced when they want to be. They got the world's tallest building now, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Think so? What's true?
We've been fighting fire with fire. It's called backburning. We've been doing that for a while. B is interesting. I mean, we're essentially talking about HARP, right? We're talking about weather manipulation to whip up a rainstorm. I don't know if that's ever occurred to me. And if it has, I've drank it out of my brain. But that is an interesting fucking thought. And a real interesting conversation in terms of moral issues. You know what I'm saying? Is it right to play God and manipulate the weather and cause a storm that could do its own destruction? Holy shit, that's interesting.
Your powers for good.
I got to go with B. That's an interesting debate, if nothing else.
All right. Lyle?
I'm gonna go Metallica with it and fight fire with fire.
Don't we do that forever? We've been doing that forever.
Yeah, well,
Metallica's been around for 30 years, bro.
Right. They just listen to Metallica.
With fire.
Right?
Do we still have John Mark? Is he with us?
I don't think so. I think he had to.
Yes, I am.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
son.
he's gone. So,
John Mark.
Well, if any, so in the future we're supposed to have jetpacks, right? And
sure.
If any place on the Earth right now is rich enough to have developed jetpacks for any sort of practical use, I'd say it's Dubai. So I'm going with jetpacks.
Interesting deducing. That's a fascinating place, Dubai, because it's a fucking wasteland desert, and in the middle of it is this like futuristic space city. Really weird.
Yeah. Moses?
Being weather wizards would be pretty cool, but seems like a bit much. Yeah. I know I've seen those water-powered jetpacks, so I'm going to have to go with that.
Gotta go with the jetpacks. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't like the idea of jetpacking over a fire. It's like, well, if I run out of gas, I am F-U-C-K'd.
It's not that. It's the heat rises.
Yeah, you're going to be a barbecued belly. You get a nice tan on your nethers.
Yeah.
Question 2, a website popped onto my radar this week that offers some unique services, something I'd never seen before. The company will handle this delicate part of your relationship for you for as little as $10.
Oh.
So they're going to solve some problems for you guys. That's what they're trying to do.
Too.
And they have different packages. I'll note. I went and checked some of them out. They range from $10 to $40.
Yeah.
A little tidbit, a little pointer. Is it A, solving the what do you want for dinner debacle once and for all?
That old awkward situation. I don't think I've ever really had that problem. Have you guys had that problem?
Yes, it's bad. The struggle is real.
always feel like I got a hankering. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's fortunate that we only have 10 restaurants to choose from here, but
that's fair. B, breaking up with your significant other.
No, that is never fun.
Or is it C, explaining to your date that you may have exposed them to an STD?
Oh, sheening.
Oh, no.
That's actually a nice way of saying it. You now have a nice sheen.
Yeah. You should be thinning anytime now.
Oh, God, you're thinning. I can't believe that hasn't gotten any comments on my Facebook page.
All right.
You positive?
We ended on a good joke. So subtle, we almost missed it.
So we have the solving A is solving what do you want for dinner once and for all. B, breaking up with them. Or C, explaining that you may have exposed them to an STD. Ronster, what's it going to be?
Weird job, man. I got to go with, I think the most fun would be solving the dinner crisis. So I'm going to go with A.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people struggle with that.
Lily Pad?
I'm going to go, as fucked up as it is, I'm going to go with C.
The STD.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a heck of a conversation. If you can skip it, why not skip it?
Right.
John Mark?
For $40.
I think I'm going to go with B.
The breakup. Moses?
Since there's different prices, I'm gonna have to go with C. Like for different STDs.
Yeah. The Sheen package is $39.
That is a good point. Because let's face it, there's STDs and then there's STDs. Interesting.
Right. Question 3. There is another website story here. A new website came up that you can pop your home address into, and get this. Is A, the location of the nearest open sex party, along with an invite if you meet the criteria.
I sure hope it's that, because it's 2015. Can we get an app that tells me where I can show up and just fuck strangers?
Yeah, right? B. I didn't know where else to go with that. B, information.
That's what it'd be like when I walked in the party. Hey, everybody, the Ronster's here from Tales from the Space Pod.
Is it B, information?
Wow, you can't crickets me twice in a row. All right, give me your fucking B.
Is it B, information on if anyone has ever died in the home address searched?
No, handy, very handy.
Or C, the likelihood that a sex offender will break into your home based on registrations in area and repeat offense information.
You almost sound like Krusty the Clown there for a second.
Ronster.
Ah, boy, excellent answers all. Did a good job on that one. Also practical. The sex thing, tough to pull off. The second one seems like that's the easiest. I'm going to go B.
Going with the death house.
Yeah, because it's all a matter of, you already legally have to disclose that, so it's on record somewhere. I guess so is the sex offender thing, but now I'm going with B.
Yeah. It's not so much answers you give, it's how you do it. And you kind of went clowning. And I'm going to think of clown, and clown's kind of creepy, and I think that might be rapists. So I'm going to go see.
Now that is analyzing, if ever I heard anything analyzed.
That's analyzed at its best. Wow, you really got in my head.
Yeah, I don't even know what's happening. Everyone's wiping forward, and
I'm going to go with B, death house.
All right, perfect. And Moses.
I'd definitely love to find out who died in my house. So, go with D.
Boy, that's a good question. Do you definitely want to know?
Yeah.
And if so, before we move on, if so, how would that change how you feel? I mean, would it change how you feel at all?
Absolutely.
I don't think it would change how I feel.
I'd wonder what happened, how it happened, how many people, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to know which room and which room not to sleep in.
That's a good point. It would, boy, when you get right down to the specifics in terms of what bed, when, what room did it happen in, that's true. Yeah, I suppose I would want to know that.
Last question of the night here. Elderly senior citizens that can't properly care for themselves or their homes will have an opportunity to pick up one of these in the near future, made by a very reputable company And a household name, might I add.
Is it reputable or repeatable?
Lyle wants to know. I never know. I think that's one of those words that can go either way.
Okay.
You just say it's one of those words you just say fast with confidence. Yeah. Reputable. Or drunk with zero confidence. Yeah.
Klaatu, Barada.
Necktie. Is it A, lifelike robotic companion pets? Is it B, an in-depth home survey? An in-depth home survey that will determine if assisted suicide is right for you.
Oh.
I was laughing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Or C, an electronic, easy-to-operate butt wiper.
Well, there you go. Does it go front to back or back to front?
I think it has. You can choose.
Timely and controversial. Assisted suicide. There's a conversation. I gotta go with C. I think that seems the most. We seem poop crazy.
Right.
We are heavy on assisted suicide, though, in this country.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna go C.
Okay.
It is a robot, right? I mean, you can't program it to go back to front, right? Or front to back.
If it's a robot, you can program it to do whatever you please, including stay right in the middle. Just wiggle around a little. Prostate massage.
Kind of like a back catcher.
Just go middle to middle for about an hour. See what happens.
Oh, my God.
I need me some of that app right now. Find some freaks around me.
I'm going to go with C.
Of course you are. All right.
There's some wonderfully awkward moments in this episode.
John Mark?
B, I think.
Assisted suicide.
Okay. And Moses?
I'd go with C, but I've worked in a nursing home, and the elderly don't always make messes that are easy to clean up. And I'd wonder who'd have to clean that robot.
Who cleans
I'm going to have to
cleaner?
go with the robot pets.
Going with the robot pets.
Who wipes the wipers?
Fuck.
Robot pets, yeah, not a bad idea. I actually really... Now, of course, I want a fuck buddy robot more than I want anything, but I like the idea of a really, really good robot pet. Because the saddest thing about pets is that they leave us too soon. And it kills you, rips your fucking heart out. But the idea of a pet that could outlive you, or at least just put in a new battery, or take the batteries out when it's chewing on your socks, that really appeals to me.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Well, let's go over the answers here. Mike.
Let me just make them up as I go.
I was just copying a link to send you guys for a picture answer here. Just snuck up on me quicker than I was prepared for. All right, question 1. In an article posted on ifuckinglovescience.com, we learned this week that thanks to some new technology, firefighters from Dubai will soon be using motherfucking jetpacks to fight fires.
Oh.
And they're initially they're not the water jetpacks; they're legitimate jetpacks.
Sure.
Like Boba Fett.
Like turbine engines you've strapped to your back
Boy,
and
that's
shit.
dangerous.
But they want them as like first responders to be able to get out and see how bad the damage is and where they need to get and stuff. So apparently they're really fast.
Sure.
And,
Oh yeah. Well, have you seen the footage of those dudes jetpacking along some fucking? I think it's over in Dubai. Actually, they're jetpacking along with a fucking 747 up in the sky. I don't know if it's real or not, but it's being touted as being real.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
I'll
it
find
be
the
a little
video and
safer
post
just
it.
to use like a drone or something?
Yeah, exactly. Especially if the primary goal is scouting.
Right.
I mean, what's the distance on a solid drone? Like, what if the fire's 25 miles away and they could just shoot over there really fast, get an aerial scout? You know,
Well, a military drone or an airplane.
Yeah.
drone.
military. Yeah, well, I guess we're talking about jetpacks at this point. So, what's the diff?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where we're at with jetpack technology.
Hey, I'm all for the jetpacks. I mean, fucking Boba Fett.
I don't want Lyle to come across as being anti-jetpack. It just seems like every time, I don't know, maybe it's movies or Gilligan's Island that has me turned off about jetpacks, but I just see them as being, you go up, something bad happens, you go the fuck down.
What if they start more fires with their jetpacks?
Damn it, son.
God damn it. Send in the next one. We've got 30 fires. Yeah,
Order more jetpacks.
This is a stupid program.
Let's see. John Mark and Moses got that correct. Question 2. A new website popped onto my radar this week that offers some unique services. The company will handle your breakups for as little as $10.
Oh, damn it.
That's $10 will get you a nice little text that'll shoot out. The upper packages will include for $39, $40, you'll get a formal written email,
Okay, this is strange.
Yeah.
What's the next one? In person or phone call?
I didn't see those packages available, but wouldn't that be great?
This is strange to me, though, because texting is like the pussy way to do it.
Exactly.
Anyone can text. It's like,
It really is.
All you got to do is block the person after you sent the breakup, or see how they respond. But if you're going to pay somebody, yes, it's only $10. Why would you pay somebody else to do that? I guess if you're not good with words.
But if you're paying somebody to go knock on the door and say, "Hey, it's over with so and so,"
yeah,
it's okay, But
strange. Well, I just don't know what this buys you, because ultimately they see what's going on. Okay, you're a fucking pussy. You hired somebody to break up with me. I still have your phone number and address, asshole. If I want to start some shit, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, if you want to get disgruntled.
Yeah, if you want to get disgruntled, you can get a fucking jetpack and fly to someone's house, start a fire, crash into them. Weird.
They should do in singing telegrams. You could just come over to your house.
Singing telegrams.
John loved you
it's over
yesterday, but today's a different day.
Yesterday, all your troubles seem so far away, but now it seems as though they're here to stay. Oh, just you stay in yesterday. I like that singingram. Now, see, that's genius. But a singingram you could hire for $50, and they've been around for years. Right. That is oh God! Somebody tell me. Anyone listening to this, if you're thinking of breaking up with somebody, promise me you'll spend the extra money and do it as a singagram. That's so fucking cruel, though.
Tomorrow from Leah.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Goodbye forever, sir. Door shuts. Wait, what? It'd be the ultimate trick, though, because everyone... Okay, you get a singagram. It's like, wait, it's not my birthday. Is it? What is it? What's going on here? Did I win something? You're all happy. Everyone gather around. It's a singagram. Oh, that's fucking good.
All right, I don't know if I mentioned this, but John Mark got that correct.
God, I am stinking tonight. Sorry, Tab. Lifelong fan.
Another website question here. Now you can go pop your home address in on a website and get information on if anyone has ever died in it.
Yeah, I should have gone with that. Boy, I am 0 for 4.
Actually, you did go with that, Ron.
No, I went with...
Yeah, you did.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Huh. I thought I went with the pedophiles one. All right, I am 1 for 3.
Maybe I'm wrong. Well, I'm giving it to you. Ronster. John Mark and Moses got that correct as well.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm shooting 0.
I don't know what I went with. I don't know anything anymore. This fucking forward-wiping jetpacks over Dubai. Moses that can't part the fucking sea, and he's aware of the burning bush. I don't know what to think about anything anymore. I don't know what to be thankful for.
Question 4.
Taint dam. That's what I'm thankful for. That's the good thing. It's the only good thing that's happened tonight. Taint dam.
Well, what if you take away the dam? Then you got a little build-up.
Taint gonna?
Is this wrong?
Question 4, last question of the night here. Elderly sitters. Wow. That's what I get for closing my app and trying to do it from memory. Mm-hmm. Nope. Elderly senior citizens can't properly care for themselves or their homes will be able to pick up a little lifelike robotic companion pet here made by Hasbro. Mm-hmm. And let me send you the website you can go to check these out is joysforall.hasbro.com, and just look at this fucking photo of this robotic cat on this elderly woman's shoulder.
You almost say it like you have hope. It's like
it doesn't look bad until you see the eyes. For some reason, even though the eyes look, God, what is it? Because if you break it down bit by bit, it looks real-ish.
Because the cat's chilling right in her fucking face, looking as happy to be there as.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, never see.
You never see that, especially with a cat. If they've done it with a dog, you might buy it.
The next scene is claws out, eyeball hanging from.
See, that's what they got to do, though. They got to make these little fuckers bastards, especially cats, and you got to make dogs, misbehave. If it's just the perfect companion. it is like a fuck bot. It's like, yeah, I can stick my dick in it and get my jollies off, but ultimately I'm left feeling a little empty. It's a little more than masturbation after a while. You want some, want a warm companion.
It's probably
meow means meow.
Meow means meow. I was just learning to hate it. Say it again, Lau.
I said it's probably because of the dead eyes.
I think Lau's right. It's not looking her square in the Animals are very clever, and they will look you square in the eye. This poor soul, or lack thereof, is looking at that Italian schnoz. Come on, we're all thinking it.
Moses got that correct, which tied him with John Mark for 3 points a pop, which makes our winner tonight Stephen Moyers.
Nice.
Good job, Moses, though. Right. 3 points for.
Very good. Done more than most are fucking players. Wow, I need some food. I thought I was going to have time to eat dinner before I got on the show. Turns out no. So my whiskey is really kicking my ass tonight. I apologize if I've been drunker than you, folks. But I've had fun.
That was good.
So the thing about that cat, I want to go back to this because I say it all the time. If there's some way of just putting the soul of my favorite pets into something that could live forever, I would love it so much because I fucking hate to lose pets. It's devastating. Life is never the same without your favorite pets. So I'd like to think that we're getting close with this technology. Looking at this thing, we're not too far off, but I don't know.
That's a fucking Teddy Ruxpin of a cat, dude. Come on.
You see its mouth moving. Let's talk about a story. Yeah. No, I got to see. That's the thing, though. I got to see this thing animated. I got to see video of it.
Well, think of this. What if with technology that we have now? I mean, it's pretty impressive. What if there was some kind of like device that you could put on your pet? And it would like mimic and learn your pet's habits. And then once that pet died, you would take all that data and stick it in a robot. I mean, what
you could imprint your pet onto the robot. That would be fucking amazing.
What do you think is going to come first, that or a little stasis chamber that when you aren't home or when you go to sleep, you put your pet in, and for 12 hours a day, it's just in stasis and its lifespan is extended, basically. So it's just alive when you're around.
I think the robot thing is more practical.
Fuck you, Ron. You make an idea.
I don't think your idea.
The robot animal.
I don't.
Somebody could hack it.
No, boy, that's true too. Go. Give it lasers. We don't know anything about the people making these things. It could be an ISIS trick. That's
it's only a matter of time now before someone does it.
Get a Trojan cat. Well, listen though, I want to go back to Chris's idea. It's not a terrible idea. I just think that we are wired more toward buying into something that isn't real than the creepiness of something that is real. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we would be bothered by the moral issue of unnaturally extending a creature with a soul than we would by pretending that there's a soul in this bit of components. We're weird creatures that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like if I could put my favorite animals in a compartment that would guarantee that they would live 3 to 5 long.
Where are you going with this?
I can't talk anymore. I'm so shot. My brain is whisk. All right. Tune in next week. We're talking about 9/11, man.
Scary deer.
Scary deers. This may be the drunkest I've been on this show in a long time, and it really snuck up on me. I forgot that I switched whiskeys. This is a much, much stronger whiskey.
We should just start another show topic right now. Write this out. See how it goes.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding.
We dare. We were at 2 hours. And by the time I edit it, it's probably going to be an hour and 40 minutes, but still. It's a nice epic length. Anyways, thanks for joining us, Moses. I'm sorry you didn't win, but
thanks for having me.
Keep up the great stories that you've been posting because, like I said, we've stolen from you at least once a week. And I'm sorry if we don't always give you credit. We try to, but sometimes I forget where I find shit, It's just there's so much stuff coming. I write it down and then we share it. But we do appreciate you, and we also much appreciate you and everyone else that's been sharing all of our posts. That really helps and gets a lot more eyes on the story. So,
and we appreciate you the most for your wiping habits, Moses.
Well, that's the best way to do it.
I salute you as a man.
I'm so confused. I really, really implore our audience to take 10 minutes to
Well, when you wipe, you don't draw it up along the sack. You stop before you get there.
Unless you're a fucking glutton for punishment.
I understand.
It's like, eat it, balls! Eat it!
I understand all the words you kind people are saying. I just don't understand. I don't understand the motion. It doesn't feel natural. I don't understand the risk. I don't understand the lodge. I'll try it again, but my mind is blown. My world is shattered. Tune in next week, maybe, if we're still here. 9/11. Ron at bournefilms.com. Show ideas, suggestions if you want to be on the show. Let us know if you've got a spooky story, interesting story.
Give us a review on iTunes.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Maybe we are back on iTunes. That was a weird event. I can't really account for it, but we're back on iTunes. So the feud is over. Anything else?
Check out our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instagram.
We got an Instagram now. We're up there, baby. We are out there. Find us and follow us. Other than that, tune in next week, 9/11. Happy Thanksgiving, ladies and gents.
Just listening to every fucking enunciation Ron makes at this point to see how drunk he truly is. He just said next week.
It's bad.
Night, guys. Go sleep it off, Ron.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Did that come out as badly as it seemed? All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. The Ronsters here from Tales from the Space Pod.
Is it B information?